Hi, my name is Angel, and today I'll be showing you how I made this crocheted grid pattern Mothman pouch. And this tutorial will also show you how you can make your own grid patterns for whatever project you want to do. For this project I used weight 4 yarn and a 5.0 crochet hook. And if you'd like to, please check out my Etsy, link is in the description, but let's get into the video. Right, so I'm going to start off by showing you how I create my grid pattern. So I just go onto Google and type in crochet grid maker, and the first thing that pops up is stitch fiddle. I just click that. That should be the first thing that pops up when you Google it. Then all of these options will pop up for you. I'm not sure what all of these do. I just select the first one that says corner to corner crochet. Then it will take you here to pick your yarn. I just put no preference though. And then here I clicked empty chart because I'm making my own design. If you click picture, then you can upload your own picture if you already found an image that you want to use, and it will automatically make the chart for you. You just might have to adjust it. Right here I'm picking how big my grid is going to be, so I'm doing 16 columns by 16 rows. I end up changing that to 18 instead of 16 though, but I'll show you how I did that later. So here's what the grid looks like. If you go to the left side under the colors, there's going to be a little art palette. When you click on that, this will pop up, and to add a new color you can just click add, and then here you can adjust to whatever color you want, whatever shade. So here I'm pulling up my reference photo, and to find this photo I just googled Mothman grid image. So whatever image you're trying to do, I recommend trying to find it already put into a grid form, and that'll make it easier for you when you're trying to make your own little pattern. So now I'm just trying to copy my reference photo the best I can, but I'm making mine like a smaller version so it doesn't look the same as my exact same as my reference photo. And then I ended up adding an extra row, so I went to edit and then clicked add a row to the top, bottom, left, and right. That way I'll have like a border of just white on all four sides, and that way when I'm attaching both my sides together, there's just gonna be a flat image of my Mothman and not like touching other things. It just makes it look more professional, I guess. So I would recommend adding just a white border around your image, or whatever color you want, just to add a border. So I'm going to start by making a slip knot, attaching my crochet hook, and then since I'm doing 18 by 18, I'm going to chain up 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And then I'm going to chain up one more, and that's going to be my turning chain. And then this will be our official first row. So that chain does not count as a row. And that's why the grid, the number 1 on the grid starts on the right side, because you're going to be going right to left, starting on your first row. So my first row is just going to be half double crochets. So hold on, let me show you. Wrap around, insert, pull through, and then I'm going to pull through all 3 of the loops on my hook. So I'm going to do half double crochets all the way down for this row. Also, I put arrows on my chart, and I really recommend this, especially if your image isn't a mirror image like mine. And what I mean by that is if I split my chart in half, it looks the same on both sides. But you might be doing an image that it looks different on either side. So you need to make sure you're going the right way, looking at the pattern the right way. So when you start off, you're looking at the pattern from right to left, but then you're going to turn your work and basically be working from behind your work. So then you want to look at your pattern from left to right and make sure that you're putting in the colors where they're supposed to be. Because if you just keep looking at the chart from like right to left on each row, then it's not going to look how it's supposed to be. But to start off my second row, I just chain 1, turn my work, and then it looks like on my chart I start off with 5 half double crochet. And for this grid, I'm only going to be doing half double crochets. I think you could probably do it with single crochets too, but half double crochets give off more of like a square shape, I think. So just did 2, 3, 4, and then for my 5th one, I'm not going to finish it off. I'm going to leave just the 3 loops on my hook, because then I'm going to attach my black yarn. So I start by making a slip knot. And then as you can see on my chart, I have two half double crochets next. So I put it onto my hook, then I pull it through the 3 loops I left on my hook. And I pull the white over because this is going to be the, I'm working on the back side right now. So I'm going to pull the white to the back and that extra loose string from the black to the back. And then into my next space, I'm going to do my first half double crochet in my black yarn. Then for my next crochet, I'm going to go under my loose ends right there. And then when I have just 3 loops, since I'm switching back to white, I'm going to go ahead and grab the white and use that to pull through. So every time you're switching colors, don't finish your last half double crochet until you attach the next color onto your hook. And that's how you start the next color. Then I'm going to do 4 half double crochets. So every other crochet, I am going underneath my loose black yarn. That way it's weaved into my project, so there's no loose ends. Now, you could just do it every stitch, weave it in. I like to do every other stitch, that way that the yarn doesn't travel to the front of the piece and it stays in the back, so you won't be able to, it won't be visible from the front. So that's why I do every other stitch. As you can see, I go underneath and pull through. Then I go switch to my white yarn before I finish that last half double crochet. And then I continue. So if you look on the chart, you can see my blue arrows on the left side. Every row that it points at, that represents a row that will be working from the back. So right now we're on row 2, that's why we're working from the back side, that's why our weaving in is visible. Now I'm coming up to the end of my row. Just to recap, I did 5 white crochets, 2 black, 4 white, 2 black, and then 5 more white. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work to start my 3rd row. Now I will be working in the front of my grid, and as you can see from my pattern, I will be starting with 6 white crochets. So there's my first one. As you can see, I weaved in my black yarn, and for my second half double crochet, I weaved it in again. When I said before, I told you that I did it every other stitch. Sometimes I switch it up, like right here I just weaved it in 2 stitches, and then the next 2 I didn't, or the next one I didn't, and then I did it again. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're going back and forth so that when you look at it on the back side, it stays in the back and doesn't travel to the front of your piece. As you can see, my last stitch is going to be on top of a black one, but instead of going through the 2 of the loops, I'm just going to go through the back loop alone. That way the more of my black yarn will show, because if I did it through both of them, then more of my white yarn would show. So you don't have to do this for every stitch that you do, but I would suggest when you're making your piece just to try it out, see what it looks like both ways, and decide which stitch would look better if you went through both the loops or just the back loop. Sorry if I'm not giving instructions, specific instructions for each row. The only reason I'm not doing that is because you have the chart right there to look at. So like this row, obviously you can just look and see that I did 6 rows of white, then 2 black, then 2 white, then 2 black, and then 6 more white. So I'm just going to let the rest of this row play out normally, and then I'm going to show you one more row, and then after that I'm just going to fast forward through the rest of my grid. I just finished my third row, so I'm marking it off on my chart. And here's what the back is looking like. So the back is going to look very messy, but the front is going to look perfect. And the loose threads from the front will not, from the back will not be showing in the front because we're doing the switching between weaving it in and out each stitch. So I chain one and turn my work to start row 4. And then I'm going to do one white half double crochet, but I'm not going to finish it because then I'm going to switch to my black yarn. And you can just look at my chart if you'd like to copy my pattern. And again, this is row 4, so if you look at my chart, our arrow is pointing on the left side, which means we are working on the back. So that is why we're going to do visible weaving ends on this side because we're on the back side. Here I am weaving in that white yarn and then switching colors and doing 3 white half double crochets. At this point I think it's very self-explanatory, so if you just want to skip to the end of the grid you can. I'm just going to let this row play out in case you want to watch it again before you go off on your own. Here I am finishing up my 4th row. I'm just going to mark that off on my grid. And then I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the next couple rows until I get up to the eyes. And then I'm going to show you how to attach the yarn for the eyes. Alright, I'm back. I am on row 12 and I'm going to make a slip knot out of my red yarn and then attach it onto my hook just like I did when I was attaching the black yarn in the beginning. Also, make sure that you leave your loop long enough. If it's too small, it's going to be harder for you to work with, so make sure your loop is long enough to slip through, because it's going to be going through all 3 of the loops that's still on your hook, as you can see. And then I'm going to pull over my loose end and then do my first 2 half double crochets. And then after I'm done with my second one, I'm going to pull over my red string, find my black string, and pull it through the 3 loops that are still on my hook to color change. And then do 2 black. For the second one, I'm going to go underneath all of my loose threads right here. And then finish off. Then again, I'm switching back to the red, so I'm just going to pull all the other strings back and find that red, and then do 2 red. And as you can see on my chart, I only need my red yarn for 2 rows, so instead of just leaving it on after I'm done with it, I'm going to cut and tie it off. I'm going to show you how I do that. So I just finished the 2 rows with the red yarn, and now I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to leave a lot of extra string over so I can tie it. I'm also cutting off any loose ends that I've already weaved in, like this little piece of red right here. Now I'm taking my hook, just finding some threads to go underneath, and then pulling that loose end through, but I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to leave a loop. And make sure to turn your work to make sure that this isn't visible on the front side. I'm going to insert my string through that little loop I made and then into the next loop, and that is my first knot. And I'm going to do 1 more knot just to make sure it's secured. Now I'm going to cut off my loose thread, and I'm going to do it about 1 millimeter away from my knot. That way the knot won't come undone. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of my grid off. And when I'm done with my black yarn, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my red yarn, tying it off and cutting it. Here I am finishing off my grid. I'm just going to chain 1, pull my yarn through, and then cut it. And here's my finished Mothman grid. As you can see, it is definitely not a square, it is a rectangle, so that's something to think about when you're making your own grid. I'm just stretching mine out a little bit so it'll be wider, and then I'm going to go make another one so that I'll have a front and a back for the little pouch I'm going to make out of it. Right, here's the finished 2 little Mothman grid crochets that I did. It's going to be the front and back of the little pouch I'm going to make. And to do that, I'm going to put it wrong sides together. And then I'm going to do single crochet all the way down the left side, the bottom, and then the right side, but I'm going to leave the top open. So I'm going to start by making a slip knot and then attaching my hook. And then again, wrong sides together, I'm going to start at the top left corner. Inserting my hook into the front and the back. And we're going to be single crocheting all the way down. First I'm going to do a slip stitch, then I'm going to chain one, and then into that same space I'm going to do a single crochet. And I'm making sure to weave in my loose end right there. Right, and I'm going to do 18 single crochets, and I'm going to try and do them into each of the rows, but it's a little bit hard to see and tell where you're going in, so just count and make sure you're doing however many rows that you originally did for your grid. So again, I'm just finding whatever space I can and inserting my hook into the front and the back, making sure that they're even on the front and the back, and doing single crochets all the way down, and I'm going to be doing 18 single crochets. Right, I just finished my 18 single crochets down the left side. Now right here, what I really should have done was do 2 single crochets into that last stitch, but I didn't end up doing that, but you should probably do that if you're following this pattern. And I'm going to do 18 more single crochets on the bottom section. Now this part is easier because you're going to be going into the original chain that you made when you were making the grid. So I'm going to insert my hook into each chain space that I see, and it's going to end up being a total of 18 single crochets. And once I finish the bottom, I'm just going to replicate what I did on the left side onto the right side, just doing 18 single crochets all the way up, and then I'll show you what to do next. Right, I'm back. I just reached the end of the right side of my pouch. Now I'm at the top. And now I'm going to be doing double crochets, so I'm going to chain up 2 to start. Then I'm going to do double crochets all the way around. So I'm going to wrap yarn around my hook, insert into that top of that first half double crochet, then pull through 2, then pull through 2. And I'm making sure to weave in my loose ends. There's my second double crochet. Then again, I wrap my yarn around my hook, insert, pull through 2, pull through 2, and that is a double crochet. I'm going to continue doing this all the way around, and I should end up with 36 double crochets since the tops of both my grids equal to 18 half double crochets. I'm now completing my first row, so I'm going to insert into the top of my first double crochet and do a slip stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2, turn my work, and then do a double crochet into that same space because that chain 2 doesn't count as a double crochet. And then I'm going to continue going around until I have another 36 double crochets. And then once I'm done with this row, I'm going to do it one more time so that I'll have 3 rows of double crochets. Right, here I am finishing my 3rd row of double crochets. Just slip stitching, chaining 1, and then I'm going to cut my yarn. Now I'm weaving my loose end in with my hook, but I usually prefer doing this with a needle, so if you have a needle, I suggest doing that instead. Right, here is the finished pouch. Again, I did 3 rows of double crochets at the top, and the last thing I need to do now is to make the drawstring. To make my drawstring, I just used my red yarn, made a slip knot, and did a long row of chains. I didn't count how many chains I did, I just measured it out with a tape measure to make sure that it was at least 30 inches long. Now to finish the row of chains off, I just chain up one, pull it tight, and cut the loose thread. To attach my drawstring, I'm going to insert my hook into the center row of double crochets, and I'm going to weave it in and out through every 2 double crochets. As you can see, you don't have to do it through every 2 double crochets, this is just how I did it. And then when I reach the other end, I'm just going to pull my row of chains through. And then I'm going to flip it around and repeat that on the other side. Next, I'm going to cross these strings and then weave them back the other direction. And I do it this way so that when I pull the bag tight, it will actually stay closed because it's wrapped around twice. Now I'm weaving my hook through the other direction, and I'm doing it the opposite way that I did it the first time. You don't have to do that, that's just what I did so that the red yarn will show when it's finished. Now I'm flipping my work around, and I'm going to repeat what I just did onto the other side. Finally, to finish off my drawstring, I'm going to knot the 2 sides together, but first I'm going to do a double knot at the end of each side. And then cut the loose yarn about 1 millimeter away from the knot. After repeating that onto the other side, I am going to finally knot the 2 ends together. And here's my finished drawstring mini bag, and it is big enough to fit like a phone, some AirPods, and maybe some other little things. So here's what the front looks like, and here's the back, and I'm going to demonstrate how you could attach this pouch to maybe a backpack or a purse. So after closing it, pretend like this handle is like a backpack strap. So I'm going to pull the string through and then loop it around the pouch. And there you go, it's attached. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please leave any questions that you have in the comments. I'll try to get back to you. And please check out my Etsy if you can. Right here's a QR code for it, and I'll also have it linked in my description.